I know this is going to sound crazy, but I am convinced we're going to make one of the greatest films ever made. I believe that when you're doing good work that supports, that makes people's lives better, this generation and the next generation, that the universe supports you in that process. So if you've got Nobel Prize winners and the royal family and famous actors and entertainers and famous physicians who are all promoting and advocating for homeopathy, and you've got the statistics that shows that homeopathy is efficacious in treating all kinds of different conditions, then it's worthy of investigation. So we're going to...
Today's guest is Kim Elia, who also featured on episode 92 and 266 of this podcast. So be sure to go and check that out as well. It was so great to have Kim on today because, as many of you will know, he is the executive producer for the documentary Introducing Homeopathy. And I hope all of you have watched it by now. If you haven't already, be sure that you get to watch it. You can visit introducinghomeopathy.com. But today, Kim is going to give us a bit of an update on a series that they are busy creating called Investigating Homeopathy. And it is just so mind-blowing when you hear him speak about these stories of people who have been persecuted for using homeopathy alongside their medical practice, even though they're getting great results for their patients. It is just absolute madness. It's really important that we all support Kim and his team to get this work out to the masses. We ask you to please dig deep. Go to introducinghomeopathy.com and donate. You do get something for your donation. There's a whole variety of different things depending on which level you donate at. And please go and check out Introducing Homeopathy on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And be sure to share it far and wide. This really is our opportunity to make a real difference and get homeopathy out to the masses. And we really need your support. Thanks so much for listening.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout podcast, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now our mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello homies, and welcome back to Homeopathy Hangout, where today we have our return guest, Kim Elia. Hi Kim, how are you going?
Good, Eugenie. Nice to see you.
It's great to see you too. And it was so special meeting you all that time ago. Well, it's not that tough. What was it, November 23, and when you came to the AHA conference. And I always feel when I get to interview guests after that I've met in person, it's just like extra special. So thank you.
Yes, I remember I walked into the elevator and you said, oh my God, Kim Elia.
It's really nice that you remember that, because that is like a core memory for me, like the elevator opening and you standing there. I'm like, it's amazing. And now, so Kim, as many of you might know, is the producer of is the producer the right term that we use? Inspiration, the creator?
I was the executive producer, one of the co-directors, and one of the scriptwriters.
And founder of Whole Health Now, and like a whole host of other things. So I don't think anyone listening to this podcast is not going to know who you are, but we'll put it out there anyway, just in case. Now, listen back on episodes 92 and 266 as well, where we talk a bit about Kim's history. And many of you probably have seen the Introducing Homeopathy movie by now, but Kim is somebody that doesn't like to sit on his hands. There's always something happening by the sounds of it. And you have now got some extra exciting news happening where the Introducing Homeopathy documentary is kind of morphed in some other bits and pieces. So I'm going to stay quiet now and just leave the floor to you to just tell our listeners what's been happening.
Well, let me just kind of start from the beginning. So, I met this individual who did videography work. He was very sympathetic to natural and energetic medicine because his father was an acupuncturist. And so we decided to make this film introducing homeopathy. And originally we had wanted to put it onto Netflix. And But we decided at a certain point not to do that because the film didn't really fit the Netflix format, which usually involves a lot of controversy and polarity and dynamic tension and advocates and skeptics arguing over a particular topic or subject. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to just simply talk about all of the amazing benefits of homeopathy. Of course, there are myriad benefits that homeopathy has to confer to humanity and really all living beings. And we thought, let's just tell people what this thing is. And so we did that. And when it was finished, we realized that it really didn't fit the Netflix format. We thought, how can we get the most number of people to see it? We decided to team up with Children's Health Defense, and it was screened on their platform. We also did a number of private viewings as well. And it's at this point been seen by over 500,000 people. So we feel that it was very successful in terms of, and one of the things that we've noticed, for example, here in North America is that the the enrollment at a number of homeopathy schools is up significantly. The largest cohorts they've ever had. So I don't know if that's 100% attributable to our film, but I do believe that our film played a significant role in increasing awareness about homeopathy, interest in homeopathy, and consequently enrollment in these various institutions. But like you said, we didn't want to sit on our laurels. We wanted to see what else we could do. And we decided to create something that was more aligned with the Netflix format. And that's a 45-minute pilot, maybe 50 minutes, entitled not Introducing Homeopathy, but entitled Investigating Homeopathy. And I thought, it would be great to have feedback from the homeopathic community. So we sent out an email to our list asking for scriptwriters and filmmakers, and we got 25 people who responded. I interviewed all of them, and we now have a team of almost 20 individuals who meet on a weekly basis to discuss the narrative, the overarching theme of the pilot and things of that nature. And what we finally settled on was the perennial persecution of homeopathy, because homeopathy has been persecuted since the very beginning, since its inception. Hahnemann was persecuted. He was tried. He had to leave Leipzig and move to Cothen. And Melanie was tried for practicing medicine with practicing homeopathy without a medical license. And so there's been this ongoing persecution. Matter of fact, in the United States, the American Medical Association was created in response to the American Institute of Homeopathy. So the AMA was created as a reaction to homeopathy. And so we decided to interview a number of people who have been really persecuted by homeopathy. One of these was an individual medical doctor by the name of George Guess, who was practicing homeopathy in North Carolina. And his patients loved him. There were no complaints, really well received in the community. But the medical board of North Carolina found out that he was practicing homeopathy. And they decided to take away his medical license. And he took this all the way to the Supreme Court of North Carolina and lost. And the reason that he lost was because he wasn't practicing according to the standard of medicine in his area. And if you think about that for a second, that opens up a huge can of worms, because it means that a physician, a healer, some type of healthcare practitioner could discover the cure to a disease, administer it to his patients, cure his patients, and then lose his license because it's not the standard of practice in his area. So this points out a really fundamental problem with the conventional medical system, in that it can't really evolve or develop based on clinical discoveries that practitioners are making when they're working with their patients. So we thought this was a great theme. We went down to Virginia because basically Dr. Guess had to leave North Carolina. He couldn't practice in North Carolina any longer. He had to leave. He had to move to the state of Virginia, and he was practicing there. And we went and we interviewed him. And then right after that, my wife and I and a few other individuals went to the Children's Health Defense Conference in Austin, Texas. And we were there at the Saturday night. There was a big gala that was going to be happening, and a bunch of people were going to be speaking. RFK Jr.'s wife was going to be there, and a bunch of other individuals. And I was sitting at the table waiting, and some woman walks by, and she says, "Kim." And I don't recognize her. I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Kim, it's Margo Roman." And I say, "Margo," and I hadn't seen her in like 20 years. And I said, "Margo, fantastic. Sit down." And so she sits down and we start to talk. And I say, "How are you doing?" And she says, "Oh, it's been a nightmare." She says, I've spent the last 3 years fighting. She's a veterinarian. I've spent the last 3 years fighting the veterinary medical board in the state of Massachusetts because I was practicing homeopathy and natural therapeutics with my animals, getting good results, but they found out and they decided to persecute me. And I spent the last 3 years and over $1.6 million fighting the medical board. She's actually planning to take it all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. And I thought, wow, unbelievable. This person, we've already decided on this theme, and here's this person who I haven't seen in 20 years sitting down. And even more remarkable than that was the following week, right after that convention, I was flying out to Massachusetts to be with my grandchildren. My daughter and her husband and my two grandchildren live in Massachusetts, in Boston. And that's where Margo lives, is in Boston. So it was so easy for me to just go up there and interview her and include her in the film. And You have to believe in divine intervention when things like that occur because it's like just remarkable. And I felt that way throughout the entire creation of Introducing Homeopathy. I felt like all the things that had to come to us did, like all the patients that we needed, all the practitioners that we needed, everything that had to occur fell into place perfectly. And I feel like the same thing is happening as well with investigating homeopathy. And I believe that when you're doing good work that supports that makes people's lives better, this generation and the next generation, that the universe supports you in that process. And, for Margo to just appear like that and for us to be able to interview her the following week was just a synchronicity that just blew my mind. So, anyway, we decided to make the theme of the pilot the persecution of homeopathy, but then we realized, to really make it exciting, why don't we also look at the other position as well? Okay, yeah, there's all these things that persecute, attack homeopathy, and research. The thing that came out of Australia that said homeopathy is a bunch of nonsense, even though we know the research report is ridiculous. But there's all this type of stuff that comes out. But let's also talk about why we should investigate. What are the reasons that people should look into this thing? Well, you've got the British royal family for more than 100 years using homeopathy. Well, these are like the richest people on the planet who are extremely well informed. And if they're choosing to use homeopathy, there must be something about it, right? You've got Nobel Prize winners like just, like Brian Josephson and Luc Montagnier. These are Nobel Prize winners, some of the brightest minds of our time. And they're promoting and advocating homeopathy. Luc Montagnier did a presentation called Homeopathy, the Future of Science and Medicine. So if you've got Nobel Prize winners and the royal family and famous actors and entertainers and famous physicians who are all promoting and advocating for homeopathy, and you've got this entire history and the statistics that shows that homeopathy is efficacious in treating all kinds of different conditions, then it's worthy of investigation. So we're going to create the ultimate polarity in terms of the skepticism that exists about homeopathy, the attacks that it's had to endure, and all of the reasons that this is worthy of investigation, that there's all these people behind it, and it's got this long history, and scientists and famous people, and actually the medical doctors who practiced homeopathy in the 19th and early 20th century, they were the most brilliant of the physicians of those times. So that's the Investigating Homeopathy project. And maybe you want to show the clip now. You could show that clip. That might be an appropriate time to show the clip. This is a clip that we created. It's very rough still, but it gives you a sense of the direction that we're moving in. The first person in the clip is a medical doctor who did not want his name to be revealed because he feels that there's still the possibility of persecution by medical universities and medical boards and things of that nature. And so he's kind of blacked out. His voice is distorted. That's why he's appearing in that way. So you see him, you see Dr. Guest, you see Margo Roman. And again, it just gives you a sense of the direction that we're moving in. We have hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage, and I'm convinced that we're going to make this extremely powerful pilot. And to tell you the truth, it's the perfect storm because you've got all these people that are discontented with the existing medical system. The pandemic created a lot of skepticism out there because of the way that things were handled. And people are suffering a lot from the conventional medical system. Obviously, it does have things to offer us. If you get hit by a bus or a car, yeah, you want to get taken to the hospital and fantastic way of surgery and things of that nature. But a lot of people's health issues are not resolved. They're just managed with cocktails of medicines. And homeopathy has something of really to offer a solution to these types of issues. So we're convinced that the environment is right. And right now in the United States, there have been members of the House of Representatives that have put forward a bill to the US Congress to support homeopathic medicine. And so when we go to Netflix, we can mention there's actually a bill in the US Congress. There's millions of people who will watch this on Netflix. So we can go to them and say that as well, because you've got, all the people in Liga and all the people at the National Center for Homeopathy and Americans for Homeopathic Choice and all the organizations that you've got in New Zealand and Australia and UK. And so there's, millions and millions of potential viewers, not just in the Western world, but really all over the planet that would be interested. And so I think we have a tremendous argument to make to support that will entice them to want to fund the 10-part series that we've laid out for the Investigating Homeopathy program. So this is what we're looking at right now. I'm always, I've got what they call moonshot mentality, which means I always believe that everything I do is going to be successful. So I really believe
Good.
that we're going to make this a successful venture. Um, and then the other thing that we're working on simultaneously is we're working on a Hollywood blockbuster film about Hahnemann's life. And this is actually in some ways a lot easier than the Netflix pilot because it took a lot of work to figure out the angle for the Netflix pilot. But the film about Han's life is easy because the story itself is so compelling. I mean, you really don't really have to do that much to make it the most like, it's got everything. It's got political intrigue and romance and people who don't believe in homeopathy who
And
have to be
tragedy
persuaded
as well.
and tragedy.
Tragedy.
It's got every cinematic quality that you'd want for like a
Mm.
major Hollywood blockbuster film. And I've got a few different people that we're meeting with on a weekly basis. One woman's already written three screenplays about
Wow.
Hahnemann's life. The other lady's written one. We're developing the treatment right now, and we're going through and identifying all the scenes that we want to make sure are included in the film. The film actually opens at Hahnemann's bedside. Hahnemann's dying. Melanie's by his side, and she's of course grieving that he's passing on, but he's giving her the injunction to continue to practice homeopathic medicine. And she responds that she's just a woman, and how can she doesn't have a medical license? How can she practice? They'll vilify her. And he says it doesn't matter. You've got to keep on helping suffering beings. You got to keep on helping the suffering poor. And then, of course, she dies and she's weeping by his side. And the next scene is just, right before Christmas Eve. This child is running through the streets that Melanie's on trial, because the trial happens right on Christmas, right around Christmas. And Melanie's on trial and all. So now you've got the courtroom scene where Melanie's being interrogated, right, for practicing homeopathic medicine. And the whole courtroom is filled with all these poor people who she's cured through homeopathy, who are
Oh,
cheering her on as she's being
goosebumps.
interrogated. And the value of that is that as she's being interrogated, like if they question her morality or they question
Mm.
Hahnemann, or they question homeopathic medicine, it allows us during the interrogation to go back in time and show why all of these things that the interrogator is claiming about Hahnemann or Melanie or about homeopathy are false. And you can do all within the context of a courtroom scene or her meeting with her attorney to discuss what was going on. And it allows us to go through the entire process in a really dynamic and very energetic way. And it's just like I said, it's a remarkable story. Like imagine, of course, Hahnemann, finds out that he was convicted in the trial. He has to leave in the middle of the night. He goes to Khotin. He arrives there. The townsfolk don't trust him. He's practicing this unorthodox system of medicine, and but one by one, and he's in this house, and the townsfolk throw rocks through his window, and his children are cowering by his side. But one by one, he cures this man of malaria and this person of a broken bone. And one by one, he converts the townsfolk, and now they become his ally instead of his nemesis. I mean, these are the elements that make for a major Hollywood type film. I'm sure the reason it's never been made is that there's a lot of big pharma money in the entertainment industry, so probably nobody thought about it. But I'm convinced. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I am convinced we're going to make one of the greatest films ever made. Up there with Gone with the Wind, or It's a Wonderful Life, or something of
Titanic.
that. Yeah, Titanic. Yes. And I want to be, like considered a great film, like an art house critically acclaimed film, but I also want it to have huge, wide appeal as well. And so I've been studying movies now for the last 3 years to see what works and what doesn't work, and listening to interviews with directors, and even when we meet with these groups, I oftentimes will recommend films for them to watch. Like I recommended for the team that I'm working with to watch Amadeus because, of course, it occurs during a similar time period. Hanuman was born in 1755. Mozart was born in 1756, so just 1 year later. Of course, Mozart died, at the age of 31, so he was very young, and Hahnemann lived much longer, but the early parts of their lives overlap. So when you're watching the film Amadeus, you're seeing how they present that time period. How do they do that with a famous person? So it was an interesting film to watch and try to understand. And of course, it was one for best motion picture, so it was a highly regarded, highly reviewed film. I also had them watch It's a Wonderful Life for other reasons, which is one of my favorite. And I'm a big Frank Capra fan. He's one of the great directors of all time. very positive director. He wanted to change people and give them a positive view of life, a humanistic view. And then the third film I asked them to watch was Sense and Sensibilities. And the reason for that, there's a few reasons. One, of course, it goes back to an older time, but also if you remember, the scene opens up with the father dying and telling his son that they had to take care of his three sisters. That the law was that he got the whole inheritance, but he should take care. And then he follows up with that very funny thing how they whittle down that inheritance to almost nothing. So he knows he took a very potentially tragic moment and was able to find some great Ang Lee as the director was able to create some great humor out of it. So anyway, I'm going on and on here, but the bottom line is that I'm actively involved in trying to make these films, both the documentary for Netflix and this Hollywood blockbuster film. And bottom line is, we think that this is going to fundamentally change the perception of homeopathy out there, uh, around the entire globe. Also, if people can help us in any way, either financially, we definitely need the financial support. I hate to ask for it, but we
Mm,
cannot do this without the support.
mm.
Just so you know, I've been doing this now for more than 3 years. I don't pay myself anything at all. I'm doing this completely gratis, and it's taken a lot of resources and a lot of time and a lot of effort. So we need to, if you believe in homeopathy and you believe that what we're doing is worthwhile and you saw Introducing Homeopathy and you thought it was of value, please support us. Go to introducinghomeopathy.com, make a contribution. You get a gift in return. So it's like not like you don't get something, you do. You get really good courses, or, homeopathic house call web app, or whatever you want, based on your financial donation. But we definitely need your help, that's for sure. All
Mm.
right, so I'll stop talking. I don't know if you have any other questions for me, but I know
Well,
that on there
I
for
I firstly I don't know where on earth you do you ever sleep?
Eugenie, I'm very fortunate because I don't seem to need a lot of sleep, so I sleep
Okay.
between 4 to 5 hours a night. So I usually wake up around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's a great time to be very productive because the phone's not ringing. I don't have to deal with patients or other matters, and I can focus on these types of
Wow.
projects.
Well, they say geniuses don't need a lot of sleep, so you must be falling in that
I
category.
know,
And I
I
love
know.
your
I
passion
like to
as
think
well.
about persistence. Persistence.
Persistence, absolutely. And
Yeah.
passion. I think you couldn't do this
Yeah.
if it wasn't passion behind it. I think that's the thing that
And also so many people have been supportive of all these projects. The National Center for Homeopathy has been incredibly supportive financially and in other ways as well. Americans for Homeopathy Choice, many of the schools out there have been supporting us, many different organizations, institutions. When you make a fairly, $500 or more donation, you get listed up on our website with a link back to your website. And so we've had the homeopathic community has really come together and supported us to a great significant deal. When the film first aired in Virginia, and I was supposed to open up, make the opening remarks before the film was screened, I said, and the Academy Award for the best documentary film is, and I said, well, I can't promise you that Introducing Homeopathy will win an Academy Award for best documentary film in 2026 or in any year. But what I can tell you is that all of you deserve an Academy Award for coming together and supporting this project and making it possible. So, and that really is the truth.
I love that. Do you know what? I'm going to stick the intro or the little taster episode right at the end of this episode for people to watch. But I think you've also got it up on introducinghomeopathy.com and people can click. Is it on there? Maybe it's not.
What's that?
The 7 minute like kind of taster of the pilot episode that was
Yeah, you
then
mean the
fed
trailer
in.
for or the video for it.
Yeah, the video. It's like a 7.5 minute
Yeah,
video.
7 minutes. Yeah. You can put that wherever you want. Sure.
Okay, excellent. We'll stick that at the end for our listeners
Okay.
those just listening to the audio. You'll be able to, it's fine to just listen to the audio, but the video will be up on Rumble and YouTube as well. So we could just
You
go
got to
to
wade through me before you get to the good stuff, is what it is.
Nice. Introducinghomeopathy.com, and then people can click on upcoming projects if they want to know a little bit more about this as well. Can you also tell them about your homeopathy in action series? Because that is
Oh
brilliant.
yeah.
I
Thank you for
emailed all
reminding
us.
me.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So we decided to give people a real sense of how homeopathy is actually practiced, like so you can actually see the entire process from beginning to end. And so we've enlisted a number of practitioners who are going to be doing sessions. They're going to run 90 minutes. They will be presenting a case and they'll show you their entire thinking process, how they arrived at the remedy, what repertories they used, and then the follow-up, how to manage the case over a period of time. There'll be opportunity for participation. We're trying to keep it fairly small. So there'll be opportunities for participation, to ask questions, to suggest remedies, things of that nature. I will be moderating all of these, and I will also be, during each of the 90-minute sessions, I'll be doing a presentation that'll run about 20 to 30 minutes that will be related to the case. It might be a remedy that's perhaps related to the remedy that was given, or some aspect of the case, certain clinical aspect of it, or theoretical aspect, or something that needs to be talked about. I'll do a short presentation. So I think it's going to be very exciting, very dynamic. It's totally free. It's open to practitioners, students, and the general public. I think everybody will be able to benefit from it. Even if you're a seasoned practitioner, I think that many of these are difficult cases, serious, difficult cases, complex cases that require real expertise to be able to manage and bring to a positive outcome.
Amazing. I just sent a newsletter out to all our CHE Australia students yesterday, and I said, make sure that you register for that, because I think it's going to be incredibly useful. And I recommend all the other schools do that
And if
as
they
well.
can't participate in the live sessions, because 5 p.m. might not be good. No, I think 5 p.m. works.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, they are recorded, so you can watch the recordings afterwards if you can't.
Incredible. That's so incredibly generous of you to do that. And then obviously everyone knows about wholehealthnow.com. You can, you've got excellent courses there as well. Is there any final message that you want to leave us with, Kim? I know you're super busy, so I don't want to keep you any longer than we need to, but I just really want to make sure that people support, the work that you're doing, because it really does benefit all of us. And that, that they know about this incredible project that you're doing. And you fired all of us up. I've had goosebumps as you were speaking. It's just so inspiring to hear you speak. And I can just see where this is going to lead. And it's brilliant. And you're right, it's the perfect storm. We've got RFK up there. We've got the bill. I just interviewed Paula Brown as well. Her episode. So there's definitely this momentum that's been created at the moment. It's so important that all of us hop on and make sure that we're helping this be moved forward. Any final messages that you want to
Thank you for the good work that you're doing to spread the good word about homeopathy. And really, it's always a team of people that makes these things happen. Yeah, okay, maybe I had the initial idea, but I couldn't have done it without the support of so many people, my wife and Julian, the filmmaker, and Isabel Wells, and countless people that I'm forgetting to mention. But so many people have come together to make this happen, and it's great to feel part of that. You're doing something that's good for the world, because at the end of our lives, right? And you look back at the end of your lives, that's really what matters, right? What you left behind is the good that you left behind with your family, with your friends, and with the world in general, so.
You're going to have to start writing down that list of people to thank, because when you're receiving your Academy Award, you're going to have to remember all the names. Now, also, just want to say social media. So Introducing Homeopathy is on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So apart from donating financially, be sure you go and check them on all those socials and share it far and wide, because the more you're sharing these things, the more people go, oh, okay. And don't just share it once, share it regularly, because apparently people need to be introduced to an idea something like 10 or 11 times before they actually take action on it. So share it regularly on your socials, because your family and friends who might think that you're a little bit kooky eventually will go, oh, what is this thing? And then go and click on it and follow it and then go from there. So thank you for your time, Kim. Thank you, everyone else, for donating and supporting this work. And let's really keep this momentum going.
I hope I can get back on soon.
Always. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Throughout history, there's been the persecution of new thinkers and a lot of martyrdom for people who have stretched the limits of our understanding of life in the universe. It's through that process that science and really all the philosophy of life has evolved. I got turned on to homeopathy in my first year of medical school. I've been accepted at Stanford, and I did a preceptorship and saw cases cured homeopathically that I had just been taught were incurable. Being young and very idealistic and naive, I thought, this is amazing. I want to bring that back to Stanford. So I arranged for a conference. As a result of my putting on this lecture, they started harassing me. They made all kinds of accusations that were unsubstantiated and made me take an entire year of medical school again. I found out later from my lawyer who investigated the whole situation that they had planned this to bankrupt me before I even got out of practice. After 4 years and 11 months of medical school, I was not allowed to graduate.
Throughout history, human evolution has been marked by the search for a higher understanding of the universe. Each breakthrough built upon the last. Another step towards greater order. But with even the brightest minds, our work has sometimes taken equal steps backwards. And the very same brilliant hunger that drives us forward is so often misused for fraud and profit. It is our responsibility to audit every claim.
I want to tell you a little bit about why I decided to study homeopathy. I think the story is very important. I had asthma for many years. I had been treating my asthma, and it would go away, but it wouldn't go away completely. So in 1993, I was going camping with our kids, and I felt myself breaking out with poison ivy. But I felt good. I didn't feel sick. And as soon as the redness in my arms went away, my asthma completely disappeared. I couldn't believe it. What does asthma look like in the lungs, histologically? The editor of the New England Journal of Medicine's response was, poison ivy in your lungs. And there was this eureka moment like, oh my gosh, did I take this inflammation from my lungs and move it to my arms and get it out of my system? So I was determined to study classical homeopathy to understand why this happened.
At a time when trends push healthcare to the front of global politics, consuming more research funds than any other science, homeopathy has become the second most common medicine around the globe. Using a principle discovered in ancient Greece, where similar symptoms cancel each other, it has shown revolutionary ways to heal diseases otherwise incurable. But it operates on such a subtle level that modern medicine still seeks to understand it. And the doctors who've used its methods have suffered more than 200 years of persecution.
In 2003, I rescued a horse. They basically said he'll be dead in 3 days. Getting a lot of ozone, getting a homeopathy, getting support. He lived 8.5 years jumping in horse shows. So to me, that was a success. The veterinary board, they wouldn't see it. They said he should have been euthanized. And I thought it was wrong because I didn't do anything wrong to save my horse's life. But because I stood up, the veterinary board was informed to get rid of Dr. Roman. And I've spent over $1.6 million on legal stuff, torn apart and prejudiced completely because I was doing something alternative.
The institutions of our government have been used as political weapons against holistic practitioners.
I'm a family physician. Going through the mechanics of conventional medicine, I became a bit disenchanted with what seemed to be limited results and studied at the Athenian School of Homeopathic Medicine. I then went to work in Western North Carolina, announcing to the world I was a homeopath. A few months later, I had an unsolicited visit, investigators for the North Carolina Board of Medical Examiners. I then got a subpoena to appear for a formal procedure where I was being charged with a failure to practice acceptable and prevailing medicine. There was no instance of a patient complaint. There was no assertion that anything I had done was unsafe. That first hearing, when I began to talk about homeopathy, its efficacy, I was at that point interrupted, and they said, well, we're not making homeopathy the prime subject of this investigation, but rather your competence as a physician. So they proceeded to ask me a lot of medical questions, which I knew the answer to. I had a number of internal medicine physicians, and then I had a number of patients who testified as to the benefit they achieved from homeopathy that they hadn't elsewhere. It was truly a battle of philosophies. The board then charged me with unprofessional conduct, which was defined as failing to practice according to acceptable and prevailing standards. Rather than pulling my license, they offered me conditional probation, wherein I could remain in North Carolina practicing conventional medicine as long as I abandoned my homeopathic practice.